We always talk about how much potential the IT sector has in Sri Lanka for growth. What would you say, looking at the current context, what would you say are the main factors of this growth of the sector?
Political stability and a consistent GDP growth. Current regime is showing that there is progress, so that is the first step. Without that, obviously there can't be any sort of IT tech growth. Tech education is coming in at a secondary education level. I feel that it has to start off at primary level, at an advanced level with the primary, so that when they come to the secondary, they are
Already
yes, exactly, they are at a level which is globally accepted. With the right education to basically tomorrow's youth,
yes.
I think that's the way forward. Yeah.
What are the trends that you think will take over the country in the next few years from the demand and supply side of tech?
Digital financial services have to improve. That is, I think, the first step as a nation we need to look at is having improved digital financial services and people accepting digital financial services. I think it will take some time, but we have started there. Especially for the SMEs, I think going cloud is the option. Investment that digital IT infrastructure requires, that is a prohibitive factor for most small organizations. So if we get into these areas, I think that's a good way forward.
The tech industry is poised for growth in Sri Lanka. We spoke about all of this and more with Asgar Roshanali. Stay tuned.
For 30 years, LMD has been the voice of business in Sri Lanka, capturing the pulse of the nation's corporate landscape through its iconic covers. Each cover tells a story, from the first edition in 1994 to the present day, narrating key moments, leaders and trends that have shaped Sri Lanka's business ecosystem. Over the years, LMD covers have featured thought leaders, business pioneers and game-changing innovations, reflecting the evolution of industries and the economy. As we celebrate 30 years, these covers represent more than just publications. They are a testament to LMD's legacy of excellence in business journalism and its unwavering commitment to being Sri Lanka's leading voice of business. LMD, Sri Lanka's voice of business, a legacy of 30 years.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. The topic of conversation today is tech industry trends, and I'm here with the Director and CEO of Metropolitan Technologies, Asgar Roshanali. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To start off with the first question, we always talk about how much potential the IT sector has in Sri Lanka for growth. What would you say, looking at the current context, what would you say are the main factors of this growth of the sector?
Well, to start with, obviously, political stability and a consistent GDP growth, which I think the current regime is showing that there is progress. So that is the first step. Without that, obviously, there can't be any sort of IT tech growth. Second is to have a proper digital infrastructure, which also I think the government's mandate has. Once that is established, we need to then ensure that the tech education, the knowledge has to increase. Now, we see that the tech education is coming in at a secondary education level.
Yes.
I feel that it has to start off at primary level, at an advanced level with the primary, so that when they come to the secondary, they are
Already
yes, exactly, they are at a level which is globally accepted. Then, of course, when they go for higher studies and with the degrees and things like that are available, which are already within within global standards, right? So political stability, government infrastructure, and of course the initiatives that the government is taking with the right education to basically tomorrow's youth.
Yes.
I think that's the way forward. Yeah,
We are in for a good,
absolutely.
good path.
Let's hope so.
Good introduction, thank you. So Sri Lanka is on a good path towards the growth of the IT sector. What are the trends that you think will take over the country in the next few years from the demand and supply side of tech?
I think the first thing should be that the digital financial services have to improve.
Yeah,
now we can see even countries like India, where there is a massive rural population,
yeah.
people are going cashless,
Yes.
right?
QR codes and everything.
Absolutely. In countries like China, people don't carry cash anymore. So that is, I think, the first step as a nation we need to look at is, having improved digital financial services and people accepting digital financial services. Then, of course, the introduction of AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine language, machine learning, right? Which is something that is, I think it will take some time, but we have started there.
Yes.
Right? Cloud computing, something that the world has already embraced, but we are a little slow. But especially for the SMEs, I think going cloud is the option, right? Because of the investment that digital IT infrastructure requires, that is a prohibitive factor for most small organizations. So if we get into these areas, I think that's a good way forward.
Mr. Roshanali, you mentioned the SME sector. Of course, that is one of the, I think, biggest sectors with a large, a lot of potential. Yet, like you said, we see that sometimes they are a little hindered because they are not digitally enabled. What can you dive into what you said about getting them onto the digital platforms, and what are the trends that you think that are overtaking that part of the economy?
Yeah, now statistically speaking, the SME sector contributes to a large portion of the economy, and they are considered the most dynamic sector. But you see, most of the SME sector today is not structured. They need to get into a structure and a platform. And like I mentioned in my previous answer, going cloud-based. Let's say, for example, getting a cloud-based ERP solution for their even small organization would mean that they get into IT platform and a structure, and getting into a cloud-based ERP is the easiest because there is no infrastructure investment that is needed. Yeah. So I think that is the first step that is required for the SME sector. Second is to get into AI-based support. Yes. Today, AI is able to even do your marketing content, do your advertising for you, data analytics, which is an absolute important factor in today's business, to find out what the customer trends are, to find out where to, instead of just going on a machine gun approach, you can go on a sniper approach if you use data analytics. And of course, you need to get into a more digital platform like e-commerce.
To have a wider reach.
Yes, and I think Sri Lanka is showing a lot of promise with this e-commerce. We can see the confidence level of consumers increasing, right? Even in my household, parcels keep coming. My children themselves keep ordering, right? And the confidence level of consumers now, even when they purchase high value equipment, they're not afraid. Yes, earlier doing a payment online or ordering something without physically touching it was a concern. So I think with those points, the SME sector, if they adopt those points, they are poised to grow.
Perfect. It's time now to take a very short break, but we'll soon be back to talk more about tech industry trends.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
Welcome back to the show. We're in conversation with the Director and CEO of Metropolitan Technologies, Ali Asgar Roshanali. Ms. Roshanali, you pointed out a very important point there, like getting the SME sector on board because there's a lot of potential. But what would you say is the adoption rate of tech among businesses, both large scale and SME both, and how can we facilitate more adoption of IT devices and solutions both?
Well, to facilitate, you need to first improve the tech literacy.
Yes.
Right? We always talk about giving the tech education, improving the tech literacy of the next generation. But what about the existing generation? Yeah. Right? If your company is going tech, there's no point only training the future employees. What about the current employees? So I feel that tech literacy has to be across, even to the next generation, even to the current generation. And I think tech literacy is very important to the previous generation, because most of our bosses, so to speak, are from the
baby boomers and
yesterday's generation. So tech literacy to them is absolute importance, right? Second point, of course, is the investment of the necessary infrastructure. Yeah. I think in organizational budgets, they need to account for whatever infrastructure that is related to tech. Like the way that you would invest in people, now I think that same level of investment in the necessary technology is required. And finally, and this is my personal opinion, one sure way of adoption of tech into your organization is to take the leap. Yes. Because you find that most organizations are still holding back because their structure doesn't allow it, their process doesn't allow it. Yes. Their management board may be slightly a little more old-fashioned,
risk averse.
Right? Yeah. Yes, yeah. Risk averse, right? So you need to take the leap. A simple example would be that if your organization still issues checks, yeah. Right? You need to take the leap and say, from tomorrow we will only do online payments. It's not easy. Like everything, every decision that you make in life, this is also not going to be easy. It requires you to get accustomed to it. Yeah. It requires you to, yes, change is pretty much the thing that people hate the most. Yeah. But in order to accept and embrace tech, I think that yes, you need to have a gradual, incremental approach. Yes. You need to do your homework to get there, yeah. But somewhere down the line, you need to take a leap, right? So that the people who are little averse to acceptance, yeah. Will have no choice but to jump into the bandwagon.
Like what the pandemic did to us.
Absolutely, yes. That was a great learning.
We talked about businesses adopting tech, but yeah. What about the other side of the equation, the general public, the customers, normal, average people? Have we adopted tech sufficiently, and if not, how can we improve?
I think there's a long way to go, because people say that it's a generational thing. I think it's a little more than that, because I think it's not only a generational thing. If you take the older generation, maybe in Sri Lanka they might not be tech savvy, but yeah. In a developed country they're already tech savvy. So it's not a generational thing. I think in Sri Lanka it's more of a, well, not fair only to say Sri Lanka, but in markets similar to ours, I think it's also a more cultural thing, where they like to wait till someone else uses the tech, see how it goes before adapting it themselves. Yeah. We have seen enough examples, like you take the electric, automobiles. Yes. Everyone didn't, whereas other countries just change. Yeah, right. Here we are waiting to see, okay, will that work fine? Will it break down? Right? What is the garage saying about it? Yeah. That's a cultural thing, right? So I feel that the general public is adopting tech, but it's a little slow because there is a cultural gap. There is also something here in Sri Lanka that the tech may be not so affordable. Yes. Right? Now we saw in the beginning of last year or mid last year, I can't remember exactly, the 18% VAT was introduced for computers, yeah. Which was not there. As long as I can remember, the computers or the IT devices did not have a VAT. Yes. Now it does. Yeah. Yeah. which is an immediate 18% hit to the
and it will go to the customer, right?
Yes, right, to the common man. So these are little things. So I think if culturally we make up our minds that tech is something, it's part of us, part of life, and of course from a government perspective with the necessary legislations, we have affordable tech, right? User-friendly, affordable tech, which even the person furthest away in this country can access to. Then I think we will see a faster growth.
Yes. Difficult part to go, but there's hope.
There's always hope, yeah.
Mr. Roshanali, I didn't feel the time go because it was an interesting conversation, but we have to let you go. But before that, my final question to you, we spoke about the need to increase our tech adoption among businesses, SMEs, the general public. What would you say is the role of collaboration between, let's say, the public and the private sector, and also Sri Lanka and the international community on how we can increase adoption?
Definitely there has to be collaboration between the private and the public sector. And when I say private, it can be local and international.
Yes.
Certainly the government has to have collaborations. But so far we have not seen great success in these collaborative activities, because somewhere down the line the mission of both sectors are different. One goes on a public service mission, the other one is a more profit. But certainly there has to be collaboration. If not, I don't think we can move forward. Secondly, it has to be on a kind of a BOT basis, build, operate and transfer, where the private sector is given a project, where they build the project, they run it for a period, whatever the project they that may be, and then they transfer it to the state sector who runs. But with the few experiences that I've had over the past couple of years, when the transfer happens, the state sector team is not ready to run it. So one of the things that needs to be done is they need to be ready, right? They need to be ready, to one day not depend on a collaboration, but to run the IT independently for the people. 2, in the short term, if there is a collaboration that happens, they need to be able to take control of that collaboration when the time is up, right? If not, it will just end up being a private sector project, and don't know how much it will benefit the masses.
We've been in conversation with the Director and CEO of Metropolitan Technologies, Ali Asgar Roshanali. Thank you very much for an insightful interview.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and X. Thank you for watching and stay safe.